What is the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word climate change or global warming? Depending on what you already know, it may be a thermal power station, melting ice, or Donald Trump. But I can assure you that none of those images are telling you the whole story. There are plenty of people willing to take sides. However, none of them wants to tell you the truth. Before we go ahead, there's something you should know. 35 years ago, scientists discovered a huge hole in the ozone layer just above Antarctica. The culprits were found to be chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs. They were used in every cooling appliance those days, from refrigerators to air conditioners, etc. Yet the scientific community called for a ban on CFCs. So, in 1987, the world met to sign the Montreal Protocol, an ambitious treaty aiming to eliminate CFCs from production by 2010. It seemed impossible at first, but an alternative to the CFCs was found: hydrofluorocarbons or HFCs. In the due course of events, the last CFC production site was shut down in 2008. The ozone layer is now on its way to complete recovery by 2065. Judging from your expressions, it is likely that most of you still believe that CFCs are still being produced and are a real threat to our ozone. Why are we so misinformed about climate change? We live in a world where climate change is real, yet most of us continue to either deny it or remain blissfully ignorant. This is not the way. Informing the masses is the key to our survival. But on this journey to information lies a particular roadblock that we all like to call the internet. Misinformation flourishes here. Claims from prominent individuals, propaganda from governments, comments from people who simply do not know enough. One such opinion stands out from the rest. It's more or less like this: what's new? The Earth's climate has changed several times in its history, so why should I care? Yes, the climate has changed several times in its history as the Earth dropped out of its ice ages. But there's a catch. The rate of ice age recovery warming was 5 degrees Celsius over 5,000 years. Now it's much faster than life can adapt to it. For the next centuries alone, predictions show us that the temperature is slated to rise by over 2 degrees Celsius. This equates to about 20 times faster rise in temperature, the fastest ever the Earth has experienced, and it is clearly due to human influence. You may think that 2 degrees is an exceedingly small change. Well, think again. The sea levels would rise by half a meter, and the Arctic Ocean would be ice-free in the summer. But half a meter sounds insignificant, and you don't live in the Arctic Ocean, so why care? You should. As the ice disappears, it gets replaced by water, which absorbs heat instead of reflecting it. This only increases the warming effect and the overall rise in sea level. Disasters look good only on the big screen. Remember this graph? We are currently following the red line, and what I just described to you was the best case scenario, the blue line. As you can see, all of the current evidence points towards certain doom for our species. This is where the next argument comes in. If we cannot stop climate change, why bother to try? Wrong. As I have already said, the ozone layer is on its way to complete recovery by 2065. The Montreal Protocol has already demonstrated what can happen when humanity unites against a common problem. We could do it again if we wanted to. But perhaps the protocol's success could also be attributed to the fact that there was a visible hole in the ozone layer that people could point to and force governments to act. Sadly, the slow nature of climate change does not allow us that leisure. This does not become any better when you take into consideration that some political parties are actively denying climate change. Their most recent argument is, listen to this carefully: climate change is real, but we are not sure how much of it is caused by human influence. It might be a natural variation that could go back to normal. To them I say this: do you really want to gamble with the lives of billions just so you can save your economy? Stopping the usage of fossil fuels is not going to do the world any bad. But when you consider the other possibility that climate change was being caused by human influence, a little economic disruption doesn't seem so bad, does it? Sir David Attenborough has said, what we do in the next 20 years will determine the future for all life on earth. And it is up to our generation to decide whether to suffer or prosper.